All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
No.
This is episode 11 of the Alberta Skills webinars. This week's conversation is about the use of electrical stimulation after a spinal cord injury. We're lucky enough to have Sarah, who works over at the Glenrose, is very familiar with FES, all sorts of FES. Also, we have Ricardo, who has been an FES lead user for the last year and a half and started using FES pretty much right away. Correct?
Correct.
Right on. All right, so we'll go to the next slide. As we continue on here, I just wanted to bring everybody's attention here to the rehabilitation advice line. This is something from Alberta Health Services. You can see on your screen here, there's a toll-free number that you can call. It's kind of during this COVID crisis, gives people an opportunity to stay connected through the online or through the phone and answer any questions people might have. Hopefully can answer all those questions. And yeah, you can see here the times are available. Thank you, Sarah. We can go to the next one, please. Just a little disclaimer, it's going to pop up on your screen. Just a reminder, we are recording these and it will be on social media. That's mostly so if people wanted to rewatch them or couldn't attend, that they can watch it after the fact. All right, we'll roll right through. A couple housekeeping rules. Just so everybody knows, as you enter the room, you are muted. We will have a discussion period towards the end of this. You can, where everybody will be in the same room. You can either keep your video on or off. It's up to you. If you have any questions, you can turn your video on, raise your hand, be noticed, and we will have a conversation. And of course, that part will also be recorded. Next slide. As we talked about before, our two presenters, Sarah will be going first, and I guess we'll let you take it away, Sarah.
Oh, do you want to do the poll first?
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, guys. I forgot to mention, there will be a couple polls appearing on your screen throughout the webinar. If you could kindly take a minute, answer those poll questions, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Oh, mine popped. Oh, hold on. Sorry, mine popped up. So. Okay. Is everybody ready to go with the poll being completed?
Just give it a couple more seconds here.
Okay.
So just right after this, there'll just be another poll question that'll come up.
All right. So I guess we can, we'll get started.
All right. Hello, and thank you for inviting me to speak on the topic of electrical stimulation. So I want to start my presentation by asking that everybody kind of focus into the beautiful picture on the right hand of the screen. And I know for some people that might mean that there's pictures of faces along that picture, but focus your attention there and look at the beautiful electrical energy going through that nerve cell. And that is a picture of our nerve cells conducting electricity, which is what it does to then change the charge of the cell at the cellular level, that then releases chemicals that generate a muscle contraction. Electrical stimulation devices essentially do just that. The commercially available ones do it over the surface of electrodes. So they produce an electrical current to generate a muscle contraction below your level of injury in muscles that are paralyzed or cannot necessarily contract on their own. With the commercially available devices, the one requirement is that you have to have a lower motor neuron that is intact. So individuals that are T8 and higher, they should respond without too much issue to the electrical stimulation device. For individuals that are T9 or lower, you're considered to have lower motor neuron injury. And with the commercially available devices, unless you have partial preservation or preservation of that lower motor neuron, you will not be able to respond to the devices that are on the market. There are many health benefits, which I'll go into in the next, in 2 slides, to using electrical stimulation following a spinal cord injury. But before I delve too much into that, I'm going to just talk briefly about the different types that are available. Uh-oh. Sorry. The ones that are commercially available can be found pretty much anywhere nowadays. You can get them off Amazon, Costco, and any of your healthcare stores. Neuromuscular electrical stimulation and electrical muscular stimulation are the 2 devices that are used to help strengthen muscles. So they can improve the strength, the bulk, the build of those muscles, even if you yourself cannot actively contract the muscles. Transcutaneous electrical stimulations are the devices that are typically used in pain management, whereas the functional electrical stimulation devices are electrical devices that are used when you're performing a functional activity. So the most commonly known one, at least in Alberta, probably is the FES Cycling. Some of the other ones are the BioNS or the Excite. So the BioNS is used for walking, and the Excite is predominantly used to help with upper extremity and hand function. There's a lot of research that's going on right now in the world of electrical stimulation. So I've included some of the other research devices that are available in the research world, and that's transspinal electrical stimulation, which goes over the spinal cord, epidural electrical stimulation, which goes into the dura, and this is probably the one that's been currently getting the most media attention. There's a long pulse width stimulator, and these long pulse width stimulators are used for the typical non-responders. So those are the individuals who don't respond and are unable to generate a muscle contraction because their injury level is that of the lower motor neuron. So the individuals that are kind of T9 and below. The transcranial electrical stimulation are stimulations that go over your head and you stimulate the brain, and it causes a contraction in your limbs. It's typically used more for like hand and arm function. And there's a new one that I just stumbled upon, so I don't know a ton about, aside just being intrigued, so I included here, and it's the breath-controlled electrical stimulation. And this is used to help control your breathing rate as a means to help with pain management or pain management strategy. So research for electrical stimulation has been going on for years, many decades. And initially, and even now if you look at the research, there is some conflicting information with some research saying, yes, it definitely causes this. And then another body of research might say, actually, we didn't find that in our study. But if you look at all the research together as a whole, there is definitely benefits to using electrical stimulation following spinal cord injury. And the most notable ones are the improvements to the muscle health and the cardiovascular fitness. So electrical stimulation has been shown to decrease and reverse muscle atrophy, not only in individuals that are newly injured, but in long-standing injuries. A lot of the research for FES is actually done in more of those long-standing injuries as opposed to in the acute stages. In addition to just reversing that muscle atrophy, it improves the strength and endurance of the muscles and changes the overall muscle composition. So it really does improve the health of the muscle below your level of injury. So even if you yourself can no longer contract that muscle, you can still change the health of that muscle below your level of injury. FES cycling has been shown to improve cardiovascular fitness, and it's really important to try to find means to improve your cardiovascular fitness because it does decrease the risk of cardiovascular disease, which is the leading cause of individuals with spinal cord injury, as well as pretty much everyone nowadays. So FES cycling is really an effective means to improve that cardiovascular fitness. It can also be used to help decrease or manage your tone or spasticity.
If I can jump in really quickly on that, just those last 2 points.
Yep.
Yeah, since I've been doing quite a bit of FES cycling, especially the YMCA, I can definitely tell that, yeah, tone, I have high tone in my legs. And after the session at the FES at the YMCA, I can definitely tell that I have way less spasticity. Like for the first couple of hours is really loose, and they kind of ramp back up to normal after 8 hours, but that's already fine with me. I can, do my daily things a little easier for until it just like dinner time comes again. So it's kind of nice. I mean, I really like that effect on me. So just want to jump in very quickly. Sorry.
Thank you. No, that's good. Thank you. So in addition to helping with that tone, it can also help manage pain, neuropathic pain. And if used in mass practice, it can help improve hand and arm function. So by mass practice, that means if you just drop the electrical device on and you're not just letting the electrical stim do it strength for strengthening, it may not improve the hand and arm function. But if you're placing the electrical stimulation device on your arms and hands, and you're continually grasping for an object, reaching, trying to drink, etc., it can help improve that hand and arm function that you are working on. So with that, those findings, as well as a lot of the research for a chronic individual, shows that using FES cycling regularly can help change individuals' ASIA scoring, which supports the idea that FES can help support that neuroplasticity. So the ASIA scoring, just so for people that might not have heard of it or can't quite remember what it is, that's a scoring that is used to kind of determine your level and your type of injury. And so if especially in a chronic individual, if you use something like FES cycling and it shows that you're now at a higher level than you were before you were using it, that's how they're saying it can help support or promote that neuroplasticity. Because FES cycling can really help change and improve the health of the muscle and that muscle composition, it can be used to help prevent wounds. So that does not mean that you all of a sudden are off free and you shouldn't be doing your pressure relief regularly. You shouldn't be changing surfaces and doing other preventative methods, but it can help prevent those wounds from developing by improving the health of the muscle. There is some research as well that it can help heal wounds. However, if you have a wound, if you have an open area of skin, an area of skin that's red, an area of skin that it feels different than others, seek help from your doctors and a healthcare team. Do not just all of a sudden think, I'm going to heal this myself and strap on electrical stimulation device. That's not why I put this in here. It's just so you're aware that there are many health benefits to using electrical stimulation. In order to receive the benefits of electrical stimulation, whether it's FES cycling or a handheld device, you do have to use the devices regularly and consistently and frequently. So for FES cycling to show adaptive changes to the muscle, improving the muscular fitness and cardiovascular fitness, you should be engaging in FES cycling 3 days a week for a minimum of 30 minutes of active stim time. That being said, you can still receive benefits probably at twice a week. And the way I look at any sort of fitness, a little bit of fitness is better than no fitness at all. One of the bigger downfalls in my eyes of FES cycling or electrical stimulation is just that if you do stop the use, unfortunately the benefits don't last unless you've had some form of neurological recovery. So if you stop using FES cycling or electrical stimulation for any length of time, your muscles will once again start to atrophy. That being said, if you do have to stop using it, don't fret, you just get back on the bike, you start using the devices again, and you can rebuild up that health. It does take about 2 months of active cycling 3 times a week to change your muscle composition. In Canada, there's 2 bikes that are available for us, and that is the Mylon and the RT300. But luckily in Alberta, we are very thankful that we have SCITS, and they have donated a number of bikes to community sites and facilities in Alberta.
Yeah, I jump in again here because I've been using those FES mainly. Well, first I was like in this research study. I will talk about that later. But then once you get out of the glares, there are these like very nice FES cycles. For example, the YMCA that I've been riding for quite a while before COVID and everything, of course. And it's nice because they, for example, in the Don Wheaton in downtown, they even have 2. So you kind of ride a bike besides a one, you just talk about, I don't know, whatever. And so it's just nice. And I see Luis here, so thank you you cannot really talk now, but I guess you're happy about all the help you're giving. So thank you very much and the SCITS team, I guess. Yeah, sorry.
No, that was good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So overall, FES cycling and electrical stimulation has been found to be very safe and effective. But there are some risks you should know about. The electrical devices, when applied to your skin, can be viewed by your body as a painful or noxious stimulus, which can then trigger a sudden dramatic increase or rise in blood pressure, which is autonomic dysreflexia. Which can be very dangerous and life-threatening. So if you're an individual that's T6 and above and you do not know what autonomic dysreflexia is, please contact your physiatrists and doctors, find out more what it is, know the signs and symptoms, and know whether or not you are at risk of it. Other risks of using the devices include electrical burns, fractures, damaging your muscles or joints, and skin irritations. Unfortunately, with spinal cord injury, as many of you are probably aware, it kind of goes hand in hand with impaired sensation. And because of that impaired sensation, it does place you at a higher risk of having an adverse event. But that being said, I don't want to scare you guys away from using FES cycling or electrical stimulation device. If you think it's something that's of interest to you, please contact your physiatrist. I know a lot of you may no longer have a physiatrist, or it's been a while since you've seen one. And if that's the case for you, contact your doctor, ask for a referral to one of the physiatry teams in Alberta, and get reconnected with them. A few years ago, there was some new exercise guidelines that were established for individuals adult individuals with spinal cord injury, which are included here today. And electrical stimulation and FES cycling is essentially a means of an adaptive exercise. There's many other benefits as well. But utilizing the devices is a means to help support a little bit more strengthening below your level of injury, improve your cardiovascular fitness. And so I wanted to include these exercise guidelines in just for those who might not be aware of them. And this is a page of resources for you to look and explore a little bit more about FES or TENS. I intentionally didn't give you the direct link. And these are all specific to spinal cord injury, both of these, the top two websites. And the SCI project, in my opinion, does an excellent job at covering a variety of different topics that may or may not be of interest to you. But what my hope is that you'll go to the site, you'll check it out, and when you're kind of trying to find more information on electrical stimulation, you might see other topics that pique your interest. Spinal Cord Essentials also has handouts of various topics that you can look into. And the last link is for information on being a research participant. So if that's something you think you might be interested in doing, you can go on that site, find out more what that would entail, and it also gives you things to find out what research is going on and what you might be able to be a subject for. So I want to thank everybody for listening, and after this short poll, Ricardo's going to take over. Oh, sorry guys, my mouse isn't letting me.
Yes, that was a quick poll.
Is the poll showing on my screen? Okay, there it goes.
All right. So, hi everyone. First of all, I want just to say that everything I'm gonna talk about is something that is really related to my situation and what I experienced and how I felt during, post, and maybe just in general related to doing FES cycling, because I've done mainly FES cycling. I have like a stimulator here at home that sometimes I use for standing or some other functions, but I'm gonna mainly talk about FES cycling. And one of the first thing that came to my mind after actually I went out of shock because of the injury. When you first get injured, you kind of are not really focused. But one of the first questions was, how can I exercise still my muscles, my paralyzed muscle, right? And I kind of struggled a little bit at first on still recognizing my legs as part of me, and they kind of were shut off my entire cognition of my body. So I can tell that doing FES for me really helped reconnecting a little bit and feeling my legs still a part of me. So they're still there. At first, even transferring, I was like, can I transfer now? Because my legs are, I wasn't relying on my legs. So it really helped me at first with that. And so I really liked the fact that I could still exercise my legs, even through electrical stimulation. So you can go to the next slide. And of course, beside the obvious physical benefits, I also want to talk a bit about the emotional benefits. Being active and trying to keep my legs with a good shape, and knowing that I was still getting even some cardio exercise like aerobic. I even sweat sometime when I do FES, and for sure my heartbeat goes up, and that gives me a lot of increased motivation. So I really feel like even more confident after a session, and it helped me a lot to maintain a positive attitude. I don't know how many of you know me, but I just got injured about a year, and it was April 2019, so just a year and a half. And so it really helped me a lot to maintain like a positive attitude, and also feeling more engaged in the recovery process. So this third point is something I really find hard at first. So kind of, as soon as you get injured, or for me, I really wanted to do everything possible to regain muscle function and stand up, walk, or all of that. And so I had a lot of hope. But with that hope, it came a lot of pain, because of course it was like pushing against a wall that you don't want to move. So I had to find this kind of balance between being back in function as like a normal life and still working towards some sort of progress in the recovery. And I definitely felt that this engagement through doing FES cycling, because there's like neuro regeneration or like plasticity that with repetition, the main concept of plasticity is really repetition of a movement and you connecting, trying to do that movement. And by using a machine, you can do a lot of reps. You don't need someone there for moving your legs for you, and you can just, if you have your upper body function, you can really do it yourself. And I want to mention, by the way, I go to the YMCA, and you get a ton of help there. There are a lot of volunteers that really help you to go on the bike. They even do assessment if you want. If you go for the first time, they assess your legs, and they try the steams for what's the correct intensity of the steam and all of that. So they just have everything ready and organized. Yeah, so emotional benefits for sure is an important point, was an important point for me. And the next slide is showing like physical benefits. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. I would just recant there because it's really fit, And so some of these points Sarah already talked about. And but the first, my legs felt better after FES cycle sessions. So me, I have like half of my body I still feel. Like my right side has a pretty good feeling, whereas my left side is kind of none. Just a little bit up to my thigh, but it's kind of really, it's almost nothing. So I can really tell what happens in terms of feeling on my right side. And even improved blood circulation. I can really tell there is improved blood circulation because I can definitely tell that something is going on there. And so for those who maybe don't have any sensation below level of injury, I can say like I don't feel anything on my left, but I can tell that something is really happening. And that helped since I have a little bit of nerve pain. Sometimes it's not a little bit, but I have nerve pain on my left side. And I think that improved, this is just my guess, but improved blood circulation, I think helped me reducing that nerve pain, because after FES cycle, beside the less spasticity, less tone, I have also decreased nerve pain for a while. And I think that's also due to the fact that it was improved blood circulation right after FES, or like oxygen is going in your legs a little more, and that for sure helps. Spasticity, I already talked about it. And muscle mass, I'm gonna talk about that also later, but I maintain my muscle mass. I already do that a little bit with my spasticity, so my legs are not like, as soon as I stop FES, shrinking down very quickly, because my spasms kind of keep the tone and keep the muscle. But I even gained muscle, like circular, like the cross-sectional area that you can measure of your thigh or quads and hamstrings. It's kind of, I even gained muscle mass. So definitely FES did that. And also joint range of motion was another of the point that really stressed me at first. I never move, whatever. What if my legs just block there and I lose range of motion? So doing FES kind of maintained those joints kind of very well oiled, and they move for about half an hour. You can do 45-minute sessions, and so it's a good workout. And the last slide, or one of the last slides, so it's social considerations. That's another thing that I think it's important, and we can associate that also to FES in this case. Like, it helps you maintain a normal appearance. I put normal between brackets, of course, because we're all normals, but you know, having the legs looking with a good tone, or just the same as they were before the injury, kind of can give you more confidence, for sure. You don't have those stares maybe or you're not like self-aware too much of your legs if they're not looking, if they're looking like, you know, a little with a lesser circumference or all of that. And they help you fit in your pants, right? If you want to wear like, of course you can wear loose pants, you know, what we really notice, but if you want to wear also like, you know, tight pants or whatever, or leggings for women, and it's just, you know, it helps you fit in there. You don't have all these wrinkles, whatever. And what about glutes? So as already Sarah mentioned, you have lots of benefits for pressure sores, and of course, a lot of social consideration, obvious social benefits, social consideration of glutes. It's nice to have nice glutes, right? Even if you stand some time, you wanna look nice, let's say. And so definitely, though, I was super concerned about pressure sores, and actually I think it was mine, even became like a phobia for a certain period. I really was self-aware of everything. I was pressure relieving every 5 minutes. It was really crazy about that. And after a while, of course, now I'm more relaxed about it. And doing FES keeps your glutes really, you know, nice. And so you don't have your bone part pressing down in your cushion and really compressing the skin. So really having this muscle mass helps. So we can go to the next slides, because I want to show you also what are the, here just a couple of graphs I'm going to quickly explain, but the stimulation I normally do when I go to the YMCA or whatever FES is going to the quads, the hamstrings, and the glutes. And you can even, if you have more, what's the name, Sarah, of the connection, the wires?
The channels?
The channels. If you have more channels, you can even steam your calves or even your lower portion of the legs. But here on these graphs, I put those because I want to prove that my muscle area, those are, by the way, are graphs on my legs, because as I mentioned, I participated to a research study run by the U of A, and they basically came in at 17 days post injury, and I start doing FES right on the bed with a supine type of FES, so they can really come to the hospital bed and start doing cycling there. And you can see on the right side, we have the muscle area on the y-axis, the percentage of change over the weeks in the on the x-axis, and you can see that the The graph is showing my mid. So the mid portion, they took samples from the mid thigh on the left and mid thigh on the right, and the calf. So the calf are considered where I didn't have steam, whereas the thigh where I had steam. And there's a clear increase in the percentage of the muscle area over my thigh, and a decrease on my calf. So that's already quite demonstrating the fact that muscle must change. On the left, it's just a more detailed, because they were taking samples from from different sections of the thigh. So there is prox, mid, and distal of the left and the right, and of course more data there. And you can still see that the calf are kind of pointing down. In this case, it's the circumference. The percentage of change is not in muscle area. Yeah. So you can go to the next slide, which will be the last. I want to keep it short so we can discuss more. So this is just another slide that shows like I've done in the study. So I was followed by some U of A experts from basically May 15 to end of August. And then I continued later on a little bit. Then I switched to the YMCA. And the point of this slide is just that you can see that when I started, I was producing 0 watts of power. And after 12 weeks, I could already produce 13 watts. And after 8 months, I did a progression up to 44 watts of power. I just want to mention these are average of the whole session. So I could even reach like peaks of 65, 68 watts of power through my legs, which was kind of impressive. And I really liked seeing my muscle really contract and push that bike, and it's not right. It's not like automatic motion. You're really pushing the bike, and you can even put resistance. That's how you increase the watts. So you increase the resistance, like if you go uphill, and that's increase your watts, and you have to push more. And even if you have still some function, and you can actually use your muscle, that for sure helps. It's not either or. You don't have to stay passive. You actually have to try, or I was trying all the time to push together with the contraction and the help from the stimulation. Yeah, I think this is the last slide, and we can maybe talk about, and if you have any question, I'm more than happy to answer.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ricardo and Sarah. So at this point, this is an opportunity for anybody that has any questions regarding any type of functional stimulation, whether it's an FES cycle or TENS machines. You can ask Sarah or Ricardo. Or if you have any comments that you wanted to make, feel free to open up. So we can stop sharing screen here.
Yeah, Stuart here.